to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
I made it back in time. Hey, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, first of all, it's always Giving Tuesday, not just once a year, but every Tuesday is always Giving Tuesday. Always give it to your favorite charities, your favorite nonprofit. Rennie will talk about this later because these things are important to a lot of us. Ours is Dreamweaver Arts, Dreamweaver Artist Ranch. And yes, this is this show are 136 live shows in a row and counting. 135 million views in counting. Streaming on Talk4 Media, K4HD Radio, Talk4 TV, and streaming on iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, womenontv.tv, and over 100 outlets around the world. So this is a special show because it's not always easy to jam-pack people. You never know who's going to show up. Things happen at the last minute. People get sick. Connections, you just never know, but we still go with it, and that's a great thing. So this is interesting because I've been wanting to have Rennie on for a long time. Richie, I knew of you, but didn't know I was going to ever get a chance to talk to you. And it's always good to have Rachel on because you never know what's happening in Houston when it's snowing. And she called me early this morning saying, I don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do because we're not used to having snow. And she was correct. Georgia's got some snow. I think Louisiana's got some snow. None of you guys know what to do in snow. I grew up in Connecticut, so we know what to do in snow.
Me too. I know what to do.
We don't.
You do know what to do. So,
I've seen pictures of it.
You know what, Richie? I got to start with you first, and I'll tell you why. You don't fit with this show, but at the same time, everybody fits with movie reviews and more. We just kind of mix and match everything. So when you're that guy, that's got Riot Diet. He's not Politico. He's not good at no agendas. He's that new type of journalist, which I like. Because when I came in, I was that new type of movie critic that people didn't like me because I didn't follow the rules. You're not supposed to do that. Why? I see different things. I see things that other people don't see. So they miss out on things and I get them. So I totally understand what you were doing when it comes to things like that. So when it comes to you, whether you're at MAGA rallies or you're at Black Lives Matters or you're, at a trial almost being shot, and who knows whatever else, all the stuff that you've gone through, that's an interesting story. And so, Richie, hold on for that, because when you've got this guy and it's all about dogs, it's all about saving soldiers. It's all about, he's been married twice, and I do this off the top of my head, so I'm sorry about being long-winded, but it's really, really important. I like this guy. When I first met him on one of the Zooms, I'm like, I like him. I love to have him on a show. He's interesting. And it's one of those things where he truly loves to get back and give back. So when it comes to that award winner, that TEDx speaker, it's Rennie Gabriel. So, Richie, talk about going to MAGA rallies, because the administration just came in yesterday. The world has changed. I've been talking to a lot of these companies outside the U.S., and they're scared, and some of them are like, yay. Talk about what you went through the last couple years and why you're all dressed up, because this is definitely not you.
No, I'm not normally dressed up. So I was doing an interview and I'll talk to anybody. So, whether it's conservative or it's a left-wing outlet, I'm like, yeah, I'm an open book. I mean, that's why I wrote the book. So I could just put everything out there. But if you're, I guess, in this current day and age, if you're not dug into one trench or another, then you don't fit anywhere. You're going to be standing in between the trenches and get blasted. But, that's what I've been doing since the riots started in 2020. And my job is just to go out there and tell people what's going on and interview the people on the ground and say, hey, why are you here? And sometimes, you know, you got to dress the part. So this is not my normal monkey suit. You know, normally I'm like dressed in like all black and or just like a hoodie for the MAGA stuff. You want to be able to fit in anywhere and nowhere. Because if you're doing your job right, then you're nobody's friend, right? Because you're going to film the good stuff as well as the bad. So whether it's the police beating up on somebody or the protesters beating up on the cops, your job is just to film it and put it out there no matter what happens. And if you're doing your job right, yeah, you don't fit in. So
it's like no matter what, you have to get that interview. You know, that your editor, and I didn't have one because I was always a freelancer, and I wasn't syndicated. So I'm like, okay, how do I get Karl Rove? I got him. I ended up being the only one who got him out of a ballroom of 250 journalists, and they were all jealous that I asked the first question. I said, the person who's holding the mic, come over here. I got to ask him a question. And it was when he had done something wrong, so everybody was on his case. And I just asked the question, and then CNN paid me $150 for that interview because they weren't there. And I never got these things. So when I'm doing a lot of these things like that, getting a lot of these brands, I emailed Rebel, I want to send you something later because you deserve to have these things too. Sent Rachel some stuff. And it's one of these things when you have and doing what we're doing, all of a sudden people start sending you all kinds of things around the world. They want you to review things. They want you to come to things. You can't make everything. So, but you want to be able to share it with the people that are out there. And it's not traditional, does not work. And I think Rennie understands this because he did things differently too. And so, Rennie, I'm going to go back to you. I'm going to go to you now, and then Richard will go back, and then we got to talk to Rachel. Rennie, talk about why you started what you're doing. Your double marriages, you writing that book that's been, translated in 8 different languages. That beautiful dog that disappeared, I don't know where it went, but you need to bring it back because it's about you rescuing dogs and rescuing soldiers, isn't it?
Not doing it all personally, but funding the organizations that do it. And it really happened because, about 12 years ago, I severed an Achilles tendon, didn't have to work for a living, and started going crazy. And so I thought, it took me up to age 50 to figure out how to handle money. I'll teach other people so they can learn more quickly, but I wasn't having fun. I said, you know what? I'm not having fun. I don't care about the money. I don't need it. What am I going to do? I was ready to stop until my wife, who was the chairperson of a Berkshire Hathaway charitable foundation, said, Rennie, someone told me about this organization called Shelter to Soldier. And we've always donated to animal causes and I've donated to veteran causes. And I said, oh my gosh, there's saving the life of a dog that would have been euthanized, training it for a soldier that might have otherwise committed suicide. Every dollar is saving 2 lives. And so I said, this is a reason to keep working and teaching other people about money. I'll just donate 100% of the profits to this charity. And it started with them. And since then, it's just gone to a whole lot of other charities as well, but they're still the primary one.
Why is that important? Because it's not only that. I mean, you give a lot from those book sales. That's not easy. But, what you've created over the age of 50 is really, really important. And I'd love for the audience to hear more about that.
Yeah, like you said, 2 divorces plus a business failure. So at age 50, I was broke starting over and met my third and final best wife. It's been over 25 years now. Oh, you like that, Rachel, huh?
Awesome.
And so it was looking at the situation saying, okay, I'm 50 years of age. I've got next to nothing. In 15 years, either I'm eating cat food or tuna. I got to put my life together, and I have the education to know what to do. Now I've got to apply it. And that's what I started doing. Saved $500 a month. I was only earning $5,000, so I wasn't making a lot of money. Saved up $18,000, and my wife knew this realtor. He said, hey, why don't you buy this 3-unit property? I'm in Los Angeles. You don't buy anything for $18,000. He said, this is such a good deal. I'll come up with half the down payment. I only had a quarter. My wife came up with a quarter. So the 3 of us bought it. In the next 5 years, we added 47 more units because I did what rich people do or wealthy people. I used debt to create wealth. I borrowed money to make down payments on more apartment buildings. So by the time I'm 58, didn't have to work again.
It's like Donald Trump.
Exactly.
I
like
have more hair, okay?
Yeah, you do.
And it's not even whatever color his is. But yeah, but that's really what it was about. And so, then I severed my Achilles tendon and said, what am I going to do? So I started learning online stuff and selling my books and creating programs to teach people how to handle money, doing some coaching. And if this charity hadn't come along, I'd have quit this 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Richie, what do you see what's going on now? Because you're still young. You've got a lot of, this has got to be a fascinating period for you, huh?
Well, I've been in DC for almost 17 years. So I first arrived during Obama's first campaign in 2008. And I was knocking on doors for Obama in Virginia. And I was an idealistic 19-year-old kid thinking hope and change. And here I am 16 years later. I'm a little more jaded, but I still have a positive outlook. I just got back from covering the DC jail where the J6ers who Trump pardoned are supposed to be released. They're not released yet. Some of them are released, but from the DC jail specifically, they're still stuck in there. And it's not about my opinion on the matter so much as my lane, which is to be on the ground and gather information and relate to the people without commentary. Just like, hey, here's what's going on. Here are the people there, and this is what they're saying. And similarly, I started my own publishing company because all the publishers 2 years ago when I pitched my book, they said Trump's not going to make it through the primaries because of January 6th, nail in the coffin. And they also said, even the conservative one said that. And they also said that you have to pick a side if you want to sell books. And that's not my lane. My whole story is the story of being stuck in between. Mm-hmm. So I just wrote a book about my experience, put the reader in my shoes, why I pointed the camera where I did, why I asked the questions that I did, whether it's Kyle Rittenhouse holding a rifle at a BLM rally, or it's the BLM protesters / rioters, or if it's on January 6th, interviewing people about why they're smoking weed in the Capitol during a riot. And this reality is stranger than fiction. Mm-hmm. And I knew 2 years ago that what I was writing about was history, and everybody told me Trump was old news. But in the media, I think people have a tendency, and publishing, I've learned, have a tendency to think what they want to happen is what is going to happen. And my job is to separate myself from that and just tell people, what's going on. And I do put opinion in the book, but it's not so much here's why my side is right and yours is wrong. It's like, here's what I experienced and here's what I felt at the time.
If I wasn't a movie critic, well, I'm not even that anymore, because you have to keep adapting and changing with the new. Tradition is not
Mm-hmm.
there. Tradition is great, but it's not there anymore. I would probably be doing what you're doing because I just talked to Jacob Soboroff 4 weeks ago for his book Separated, on the families being separated, which is about to happen
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yep.
And Jacob grew up in Pacific Palisades. I lived in Pacific Palisades. That area is gone now.
Yeah.
My old apartment burned down. We could see how everything is changing. And, when you've got tech giants in Washington, you've got them all just cozying up. When I used to interview Donald Trump all the time for Celebrity Apprentice at the TCA, Television Critics Association, he would always joke that he was going to run for president. And we would just laugh at him. Well, I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh because you just never know. I was like not laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, you never know. But I also knew he was in the wrestling world. Rachel, I'll come to you in a minute. So Jesse Body Ventura, which is the documentary, said we shocked the world when Jesse can become governor in Minnesota as an independent. When he's at the WWE, at that point, WWF, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon works for him. Mike Tyson, when he's around all those people, Roger Stone, we've interviewed all of these people, and most of them are friends. When you have all of them come together, it's about entertainment. And that's why I do everything off the cuff of my head, because nobody else does. They have a teleprompter and they're writing, and each week we're in a different state. doing it, but we're always live no matter where we are. You just have to keep it going. And Richie, you can understand what that's like. So when it comes to saving dogs, right in Houston, Texas, leading up to Rachel, for the animals, we had the twins on. There's 1 million stray dogs, Rennie. I don't know if you knew that, just in Houston, Texas, called For the Animals. So we had Tina and Tamara Linquish on, who've become friends, and they're going to be coming back on again. And they do these things. So we went to the 1% of generational wealth, which I've never, ever seen in my life. Rachel came with me, and I took 4 co-hosts, and they gave me a table. So when I saw this, I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I'm really supposed to be here, but we were there, weren't we, Rachel? And Rachel, tell them who you are.
Hi, my name is Rachel Roberts, and I'm a little chef here in Houston, Texas, but I also have a morning show called Coffee Talk, and just talking about bullshit. And I can talk for about 10 minutes or less, and then the ADD starts kicking in. But it's just a lot of fun, a lot of silly, and that's what I do. Sometimes you'll see me on the morning news with Fox News. By the way, Fox is looking for I think a new every year we do something with the dog rescue people, and I think Ruben had mentioned yesterday that they're looking for a new group of rescue people to talk about. So I don't know.
It's important. Hey, talk about the event that we went to in Houston too, because that was a fabulous hotel,
that was awesome.
Too.
Yeah, the Post Oak Hotel is one of the nicest hotels here in Houston. That was an incredible event, and Brian has no fear. He walks in there and just
I wasn't even dressed properly.
No, I
didn't have time back to go to Los Angeles to get the right clothes.
Yeah, you always you're definitely an interesting character, and you walk in there and just go straight to the main people, and he has no fear, and he will get every story and every picture, and so that was a lot of fun. It was a good
right. So picking up on something you said, how tall are you?
5'3".
Oh, okay, well, you're taller than my wife, so you're not so little.
She's a fireball, and I hear her mom was too.
Yes. Did you see? Yeah, we're in the middle of some crazy weather in Houston. I've lived here my whole life. I have never seen snow like this. It is so weird. We don't know what to do. We walk outside. I had on my kids' socks. We don't have gloves. We're the shoes. I don't know what kind of. We don't know what to do. We just don't know. I had my mother, God bless her, like she's been dead 15 years. I had her full length mink coat, which came to my knees because she was a little person. And I'm out there, and I'm just like, and the neighbors came out. We all stared at each other like, we don't know. We've never seen snow like this. It is so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Richie, what's going on next? Since things have changed for you, which direction do you go next, depending which way the wind blows?
Well, my mission doesn't change.
Yeah.
Because I guess the open question is, what kind of civil unrest are we going to see over the next 4 years? I think that the weird part is now is that, and you mentioned, you interviewed Trump. I met Trump in 2015 at the Saturday Night Live after party in November of 2015, almost to the day a year before he won. And everybody thought he was a joke at the time.
Yep.
But my mom has worked in the industry for a while. And I said, there's one show I need tickets to. It's this show right here. Because it wasn't about my opinion. I just recognized that he was running on a change platform, same as Bernie Sanders was. And once Bernie Sanders left the race, it was obvious who was the change candidate. And 2024, I think, is the same thing. It's really difficult that, especially people in DC, but I think around the country, our communities, our local newspapers are all being eroded. And it's hard for people to identify with something other than their national political tribe. And so it's hard for people to separate themselves emotionally from what's going on. But for me, it's just like, gonna roll the camera no matter what happens, and there's tragedy, comedy. It's all of the above. There's a lot of comedy in the book. There's some wacky characters that you encounter. There are some dangerous characters, but regardless of what it is, you just have to take the attitude of like, well, this is my job. And so here I am. And DC, I think the weird part about this now is that Trump won the popular vote. And you have to ask the question of like, where even is our counterculture? Where are new ideas coming from? And, you know, who's running the show here now? Because it was always like the MAGA folks always interpreted themselves as insurgent, you know, counterculture. Okay, we're fighting our way to get airtime. We're fighting our way to win when we're the underdogs. But now that's not the case. So my role hasn't changed. It's just roll the camera and ask the questions.
A good time to be doing it.
Yeah. For better or worse.
Right? This is definitely entertaining. I don't know. I don't care whose side you're on. It's fun to watch.
That's correct.
Hell yeah.
Talk about being at that protest where Kyle Rittenhouse was where he was there. Talk about that for the audience, because they may not really know that was you there in the middle of a lot of this stuff unless they followed the trial.
Yeah, we went wherever the unrest was. So whether it was Portland, it was like 55 days in a row. By the time we got there in July of 2020, it ended up being 100 days of consecutive riots, or the CHAZ in Seattle or New York or DC or Kenosha or Philadelphia. It was always, we go where the unrest is. So when we arrived in Kenosha on the second night of rioting, the courthouse was where everybody was directing their protests, but then the police pushed them away. And it's not like DC where they're well versed in how to control protests. So the people scattered into the commercial districts in the surrounding area and were burning everything, anything and everything, cars, buildings. And we encountered one group of people using power washers and, no joke, like trash cans full of water to put out car fires in front of this business. And so I asked, hey, what are you guys doing out here? They said, the guy stopped his power washer for a moment. He said, do you see any fire department? And then he just kept going. And the following night was the night of the shooting. That same business, we got cleared from the front of the courthouse, and I went to the hotel to get internet to post my footage. And I saw that there were armed guards in front of that same business where I just interviewed the volunteer fire brigade. And now we have the volunteer police in front of this place because there's so much chaos going on. And so I just dropped what I was doing and I ran down there. And the first person I saw was Kyle Rittenhouse standing in front of that business with his rifle. And I just said, hey, you know, just like I do anywhere, hey, what's going on? Why are you here? And he explained he had his med kit on his side. I'm here with my rifle for protection. And then I got my med kit to help. You know, he wasn't a medic or anything like that. I questioned him on that. And it turns out that he was 17 years old. I didn't realize how young he was at the time. But I interviewed him 13 minutes before the shooting. And then he said, I'm going out into the crowd to see if anybody needs medical attention. I went out with him. I followed him. I saw him shouting, medical, medical. And I could see that the other people on the ground who had just been blasted away by other people with guns were not very happy with his presence there. So he had all these great reasons for why he was there, but they didn't view it the same way. So I started interviewing some of the other folks who were yelling at him. And actually a couple of them were armed as well. So I used my classic move of just like pull out. This might not be the best thing to do at a riot. I don't advise this as advice, but I was like, does anyone want a White Claw, which is an alcoholic seltzer that was very popular at the time? And the guy with the handgun was like, yeah, I want one. And it broke the ice. They were very angry at me originally for filming them. So I put my phone away and pulled out the White Claw. And that was right when I saw Kyle Rittenhouse running down the street with not only the med kit and the AR-15, but also a fire extinguisher. And he was sprinting up the road. And I said, sorry, guys, I got to go. And that was about 3 minutes before the shooting. Wow. And I thought I was on the phone with my coworker. Something's about to go down. Where are you at? She said, I'm right on Sheridan Road. And I was like, oh, you're right next to me. And then I heard screaming and I hung up on her and I took out my phone, my camera app to record whatever happened next. And I took a photo of the ground. So that's why I ended up being a witness and actually a victim. The first bullet went past my legs. The first bullet fired at the shooting. And the man that he shot ended up collapsing on the ground. I told the police that I looked down at my legs because I felt something go past my legs, and they made me into a victim. The prosecution took what I said and turned me into a victim. I didn't ask for it. So I was both a victim and a witness in this critical case. And because I took a photo of the ground, I had to testify to what I saw rather than just showing my footage. And I didn't expect that it was going to be even on TV, let alone as much attention that it got. But, I just had to sit on the stand and just plainly state what I saw from 15 feet away. But the book is about what it's like to get caught up in that media cycle, that media machine of, well, he's a white supremacist or he's a hero. And I'm like, I just saw a dumb kid and a guy who lunged for his gun and he dodged it and he shot him. So I don't know what you want me to say other than what I saw. But everybody's trying to, parse it as like, oh, he must be this because he works here, or he must be that because he voted for this guy. So I was no friend of anybody. I was good for the defense in some ways and bad for them in others because I was a victim. So I just had to balance this role of witness primarily and just objectively state what I saw rather than my opinions. And the book, I do put my opinion in there, but this is now years later. So I waited for everything to cool down before I really chimed in with my thoughts. But it was surreal, to say the least.
That's wild.
I get it. Since everybody's having bad weather, and we got to welcome Terri on. Terri, we'll be right back. We got to show Flowstop because they were supposed to be there, but I'm sure they had something because they're in France right now. Let's take a look at this link real quick. So we had those. They were there. The CEO was on from Alan from Consumer Electronics Show a couple weeks ago, and it's great for when you have preventing floodings or anything like that. Whether in Houston, Louisiana, Florida, they've actually used it in hurricanes, tornadoes. They used it recently in North Carolina, Hurricane Helene there, and that is one of the great products. It works for windows, doors, garages. And inflates in about 90 seconds. So it's one of those great products that, and it's very light. and I liked the product. And it was one of those things where I just wanted to show that. And they were supposed to be on, but in France, it would have been like 1 or 2 in the morning. So, but Richie, Rennie, when you see something like this, and you've gone through fires, and you've gone through floods, and you've gone through natural disasters, these products that come up like this, did you even know about this product, Flowstop? Have you heard about it?
No. I mean, I was seeing it. I'm saying, oh, that makes sense because I'm in Los Angeles, and we've had beach communities flooded from high tide events where it passes the beach and goes right up to people's homes. Yep. And I could see that's a product you could even use in Southern California.
Absolutely. And Rachel, Houston's got the wackiest weather. I'm still convinced of it in the United States, because every 15 minutes it's doing something else, whether it's hailing or snowing or raining 90 degrees. You just never know, right?
My home is flooded 3 times. We've had we've had to completely redo the entire house. It's like it's 6 months. You have to either, have an upstairs, which I do, or, live somewhere else while it gets repaired. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass.
And what does everybody have in Houston? Flood insurance, right?
Oh yeah. You got to have flood insurance.
Yeah. So Richie, when you see something like this, because you've been at different places, the weather's changing all over, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's freezing cold in DC right now. We had like a foot of snow on January 6th. And actually I drove to and from West Virginia because I had a scheduled interview. And people in DC, probably Houston's the same. They don't really know how to drive in snow. So I'm just like waxing on. I'm from Connecticut as well. I'm just drifting around everybody, whether it's a 4-wheel drive or not. But that's the thing, is you always expect, I think in the modern world, whether it's a riot or a natural disaster, we're lulled into this sense of security. And we think that, it could never happen to me. And when it does, the first thought is, why am I not prepared? So that's why I have my gas mask, my bulletproof vest, my bulletproof backpack.
Wow.
And now I guess I'll have to add that to the mix, because I like to be prepared for whatever comes my way. And that looks like it could definitely help out when, you never know. In DC, there's a lot of, they don't call it the swamp for nothing.
Well, you never know anywhere. That's why we like to find a lot of these products. And there's 1 or 2 others I'm going to show in a minute. Terri, tell them who you are, where you coming from.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm in Sherman Oaks, California. I've been with Brian since 2014. So red carpet hosting, fitness enthusiastic. I done several fitness competitions and placed. I won 2nd overall at Muscle Beach. NPC, I placed 2nd place several times. I was Miss Fitness Universe LA. Also, I'm in the medical world I'm a sales rep in orthopedics. So I'm really, really, really busy. And Brian knows I'm coming in a little late because I just lost my mom last Tuesday. So I missed the show. So it's been kind of difficult, but in a way, she's with my dad now, and I know she's not suffering anymore because she had dementia, chronic heart failure, an autoimmune disease. She couldn't walk, so it was hard to watch her deteriorate. So it's like I got like all kinds of mixed emotions. So when you lose a parent, it's one of the toughest things because you think you're ready, but you never really are.
So sorry, Terri.
My condolences. And I just got back home in Encino driving through Sherman Oaks, so you're real close.
So you're my neighbor, so yeah, we'll keep in touch. So I was kind of, and then while this stuff was going on with my mom, the fires were coming. I could see the fires like over the hill, and I was just kind of a little bit freaked out about that. And I have a couple of friends that lost their home. I have one of my best friends. She was a bridesmaid. Just lost her. She had a 2nd home in Palisades, but it burnt to the ground. It's gone.
My cousin lost his home in Pacific Palisades. I'm renting a house to a lovely couple who lost their home in the Eaton fire in Altadena. And Richie was talking about things you don't expect to happen. You're complacent. Well, no one would expect an entire community to burn to the ground, like Pacific Palisades and Altadena. I mean, literally, communities are gone.
Mm-hmm. I'm really sad because Malibu, it was such a beautiful place. So there's so many iconic restaurants, and it's just all gone. Like Moon Shadows is completely gone. You know, it's just, to me, it's just weird because I've been going to those restaurants my whole life, and it's just like will never be the same. It'll never be the same. They're not going to let them rebuild the way that they did. So it's very sad.
Hey, Rennie, before we show this other clip, actually, we'll show this clip first, and then we'll go to Rennie. You guys will find this one interesting.
Hi, I'm Stefan Orson, CEO and founder of SkyTED. Today, I'm very pleased to bring you the brand new SkyTED headset 320 that allow me to make sound calls everywhere. So everybody asked me, where did you find this idea of developing such a product? Well, simply when I was VP at Airbus on the cabin interiors, one airline asked me to develop a system that allows 300 passengers to make a call at the same time without getting into a fight. Today, on most of the airlines, calls have been banned simply because the voice of your neighbor is going to bother the people sitting next to them. With this product, you can make a sound calls in every type of situation, allow millions of road warriors to be able to make a call. How does it work? Simply, we have a brand new AI system inside it. It's going to be edge computed. We have a very long boom, as you can see here, with a special microphone, which is going to pick up only whatever has been produced from your voice. Here we've got those two earplugs that you can put yourself in your ear, and you're going to be able to listen to the other people, of course, talking on the other side of the line. Here we have direct motion system that allow you to make silent calls. That's going to fit perfectly into your bag. Secondly, we're going to have here battery for 8 hours, which is going to be very light. That's specially designed for the road warriors. This is why we created SkyTED. SkyTED Genesis is very simple, is how to make a TED Talk in the sky. That's why we created SkyTED. So with this product, with SkyTED behind you, you're going to be able to be performant in any type of situation. See you at CES. See you on the Indiegogo website.
Now, Rachel and Terri, if you remember, we had Stefan on before anybody debuted it. We were the first in the world to get this, to talk about this. There was a mask because he used to work for Airbus. So they couldn't hear any phone calls. So Rennie and Richie, this is interesting because you could be right next to someone. They cannot hear you talking. It sounds like you're talking, you're not even talking, but you're talking into the mic. They can hear you crystal clear because I've used it. They're sending me one and they're friends now. But because we had them on our show last January, they ended up raising, I think it was like $46,000 in like 10 minutes. Wow. And then from that, they created another one. So not only was Stevie Wonder using this, imagine that, Stevie Wonder was using it at the booth. Their booth was busy again this year. And it was great to see our friends a year later of what's happening with all this stuff. So now they're going to send me one or two of these because it doesn't matter if you're on a train, plane, boat, or whatever. Whoever's next to you cannot hear your conversations. It's like you're mumbling. It's like nothing, but it's crystal clear on the other end. We tested it in many different places in the convention and no noise. So it's the first of the kind. So that's a great thing. So Richie, the next time you're out in the crowd, no one's going to be able to hear your stuff. And Rennie, I think you use one of those too. You don't have to worry about it because your dog's not going to go tattle on you. But in general, when you're out in those places, how many times we've been next to someone and someone's listening to their conversation, they cannot hear anything.
Yeah, I'll get punched in the head if I say the wrong thing at a protest. So
absolutely. But
seeing it happen.
The funny thing was seeing Stevie Wonder there, and he had it, and I'm like, this is great. It was just a great product, and I love finding these things that people don't know about. So that's what that is. SkyTED 320. It's a great product, and I can't wait to get it because I talk loud. And I don't mean to because I have over-the-head earphones. And it's just one of those things where they had it in the mask form too, which is what I liked. So it's breathing good air in, but a lot of people didn't like it because they thought it was too close to COVID. So he developed that one too. So now they've got both, and certain people like either or. So I think it's great. So with that, Rennie, now that you've seen this one, what do you think about that product?
I think it's a fabulous idea. My wife and I were just at a doctor's office, and some lady apparently had no clue as to the volume she was speaking, and it wasn't even a phone. She was talking to the receptionist 10 feet from her, from where she was sitting. I mean, it was so disturbing. this product wouldn't be of help to her. She needed a muzzle. But the point is, I think it's fabulous. I mean, to be on a plane and you're talking or whatever, I was trying to figure out, gee, would that work if I were on my motorcycle? I don't know if
Yes, it does. They've actually tried it. It does. And it works really well. They have, you can have the one that's like a mask, but it's breathable air on your motorcycle. They both work well.
Okay, I got to find out more because I've tried earbuds and it hurts to try and do that with earbuds.
Yeah, I can't have earbuds. I'm usually on my scooter when I'm in Los Angeles. So I like over the years. So, but when I'm there, I don't want people listening to my conversations because, you know, they start following me. I'm sorry. I overheard your conversation. First of all, I didn't want you to listen to me.
Why?
That's why I want it. You
So
know?
rude.
Well, it happens because I tend to talk loud too because I walk around in a circle and they start following me walking around because they're waiting for me to get off the phone. You know. So Rennie, when you're next and you're in the crowd and you're going through the next thing that you're going through, this is perfect for you too.
Yeah, I know. I could see it. So hope I'll have a recording of this show. I'll have the information. I can go to the website. I'll be all set.
And Richie, you'll love this too. I don't know what kind of trouble you're getting into next. But
I hope none.
Will not be
I hope none. I'm not ready for any more trouble. It's been, I haven't recovered yet from the last time around.
Yeah. So we got a couple movies. Man, I just saw. Okay, Back to Action on Netflix. I think it's done 46 million views in 3 days. Even Netflix is starting to show you their view count now. They never did it before.
Yep.
They started doing it 2 years ago. And, you know, so we beat them to the punch. So we started doing this in 27 when views were counting. Now everybody's starting to. And with the change of TikTok, it's not coming back the same way. It'll come back, but it's not coming back the same way because algorithms change. And we all know that from doing the things that we're doing. Huh, Richie? That's why you do the things that you're doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, the box office used to be the litmus test, right? And the American box office was the way that they would say, okay, this is a good movie, this is a bad movie. And similar to news, like when everything goes behind a paywall, they're the owners of how many views that gets. And ultimately, you don't get that same kind of, okay, let's self-correct. And Hollywood has also like gone much towards a global audience. And we can't say this or that. We have to appeal to everybody. And if you're appealing to everybody, then you appeal to nobody. So, you know, seeing the view count is definitely, I think, a step in the right direction, just so that people can say, okay, what's going on here? You know, it's that the proof is in the pudding. And that's, I'm very honest in the book about what clips did well, what clips went viral, and which ones didn't. And spoiler alert, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's the way that the news business works. And living in polarized times, it's I think it's very important that we focus on what is collectively American rather than what just appeals to this audience or that audience. A good story is a good story, plain and simple.
What did you find out when you were in the middle of that chaos? What videos did well and how long ago? Because now the attention span is not 5 seconds, as I've been saying for 2 years. It's 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, that was the perfect question, because what I talk about in the book is the 4-minute interview that I record with all the nuance of why these people are there, etc. We sell it to a news company, and then they put that 3-second clip that makes them look like this caricature of what their narrative is. So whether it's Fox or whether it's CNN, you know, cable news, the way that it functions, and I think increasingly even more so are digital platforms, like you said, TikTok. I mean, the attention span there, running a video business for a news outlet on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all these platforms, you have to capture people's attention within that. They're swiping along. You have to capture their attention. They're not a captive audience within 3 seconds, like, or even less. And if you're going to get that person to click, we call it a hate click. That's the joke, is you have to appeal to the lizard brain, that primal part of your brain, in order to get people to click on it, rather than like, okay, let's do a video about this, you know, nuanced version of this tragedy that's taken place. It's like, no, you got to show that image that really captures, you know, whatever it is that those people have, their tribal notions in their mind. So it really, like, I think it's actually, I went from cable news to digital news thinking, oh, this is the future. I'm working in a candle factory when electricity just got invented and I should go digital. But then I found that it's even more reductive than the cable news sphere. So that's why I wrote the book, because that's a whole different medium where you can actually get into the deeper stuff and say, okay, well, this is the bigger story here.
Yeah. Rebel, let's show this last clip, and then Rachel will come into you on what you're watching movie-wise, and we got about 5 minutes left.
Sure.
Oh, this is a short clip on
Now
the
let's
show.
install the device. Here we have rails from the shutters, so we will install our Flowstop between the shutters and the window. But remember, it doesn't need to lean against anything, so we could have put it on the other side if we had a frame. The idea is first to give your cushion a little shape. So we pre-inflate it. I make sure the valve is up, do my quarter turn, and start to pre-inflate. I give it a little shape so it is easier to position it. And I do the V technique, very important. Creating that V shape will help you position your Flowstop properly. All you have to do is slide your hand under your cushion and you'll bring the angles back. You see, from then on, I have no difficulty positioning it in the opening. Once it is in the opening, I can start inflating it a little more without worrying about shape or position. When it holds well, I'll do the V technique again on the side. See? So I put my hand here and I'm going to make sure that my cushion is well positioned. I want these two tongues to touch the floor. Then on the other side, I've got my cushion. I'm doing my V again, and I've got my tongue resting on the ground. From there, I can finish inflating to 1 bar. I secure it. And now you'll understand that my first cushion create resistance against the lower cushion. So when I'll inflate the lower cushion, it will push down, creating a perfect seal. Now we can inflate the lower cushion at 1 bar. Voila, that door is waterproof. My gasket is firmly pressed against the floor and the sides.
So, I always say this, and I've never said it on the show. The best way to solve a problem is to prevent it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always about finding those products that will prevent things from happening. And so one last go around. So Rachel, talk about any movies and things that you're seeing, what you got coming up, and what Fox and people to buy and subscribe to you on your TikTok, Cameo, and your cups.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so shows I've been watching. I've watched so many things on Netflix that I am now watching Singles Inferno, which is like Koreans that are trying to make to get together, okay. And I've been watching Basket, Shrill, Landman. I love Dick. If you haven't seen that, it is awesome. Old Woody Allen movies have been a big thing around here. I had a viewer that's watching in, and he wanted me to ask you, Richie, how do you feel about the 1,500 January 6 rioters who got pardoned today?
That's a great question. I was just out of the jail, and I think just like with a lot of other things in this current moment, it's the simplest and easiest approach, which is like, oh, let's just do a carpet pardon rather than examining each case for what it was. Because whether it was the BLM or the MAGA stuff, you would have thousands and thousands of people who go out there with good intentions. I'm going to protest this or that. The tear gas comes out, the pepper spray comes out, different part of your brain turns on, and it's hard to think rationally. But then you also have a much, much smaller population of people who went out there with the express intention of agitating police, of tearing open the doors while the votes were being counted. I was on the other side of those doors while the sergeant at arms had their guns pointed on the other side, and thinking, if these doors open, I'm going to get caught in the crossfire again. So rather than examining all of the cases individually, saying, well, this guy actually was trying to tear the doors open and he fought with a cop, and this is, what we should do with this one, whether you should leave the sentence or commute it. But instead, it's just a blanket pardon so that he could do it on day one and make the headlines and make a big spectacle of it. I'm undoing this the moment that I get into office. So we live in an age where people want instant gratification, and that's exactly what this is a great example of that, where rather than taking the nuance and saying, okay, well, maybe this guy did something actually bad, it's just he's part of my political tribe, so let's give the blanket pardon.
And real quick, give your social media because we're out of time. Go ahead.
Yep, at Richie McGinniss, RICHIEMCGINNISS, and you can find the book Riot Diet on the Bezos Boutique or order it from your local bookstore if you prefer. It's up to you.
Rachel. Social media.
Rachel, yeah, Rachel Roberts Recipes, Rachel Ann Roberts, Cameo, Rachel Ann Roberts.
Rennie.
Thank you.
The easiest thing to find out anything is go to wealthonanyincome.com. They'll see the charity Shelter to Soldier. They'll see books, programs, information, everything at wealthonanyincome.com/TEDx. I get to hear that as well.
And check out his podcast too. It was an honor to be on his show. Terri.
Terri Marie nonstop on Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. Hopefully they'll still keep it. I'm on TikTok Shop selling or actually promoting several products, mostly beauty and healthcare, supplements and that sort. And then also I have a website, which is terrimariaofficial.com. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of me in 2025, that's for sure.
And like I always say, I got to thank everybody for coming on because Richie, on a pleasure to meet you. Rennie, it's good to see you. I can't wait to have you guys back, which is good. Rachel, Terri, and everybody out there, including Rebel. And as I always say, have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. If you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world definitely needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.